you guys? Host Jason Brandt here. uh, Welcome to Final Guys. I'm your host Jason Brandt. I am joined by apparently the hipster Hunter Shea with his goddamn spinner.
Call me Easy Reader.
And Monster Man Jack Campisi.
Or Fargo, North Dakota to you.
There's a whole generation of people not knowing what we're referencing.
So this week we are going to talk about a little movie called Prevenge, which is basically a pregnant woman murdering the crap out of people. But before we get to that, let's get on to the horror news of the week. What do we have, Jacko?
All right, guys. I got just a few things for us. First of all, are you guys fans of the Tremors movies?
The first one.
I like the first and the third one. There's
Well,
5, right?
I don't know. Man. There's a bunch of them. Anyway, they're creating a sci-fi series of Tremors. Kevin Bacon is involved with Blumhouse for it, and not only is he producing it, but he's also going to star in it. He's reprising his role as Val McKee.
Oh my God! Why?
What?
Now,
What happened to him?
one thing I read said that this was a reboot, and then in other things, it's picking up the story from now and like what's it like to be a survivor a quarter of a century after the attacks in the desert. So all I know is there's a sci-fi series of Tremors slated for sci-fi, and let's see, I don't know when it's coming out, so keep your eye out for it.
And that's Blumhouse.
Blumhouse and Kevin Bacon. So
I'm in. All right.
you know,
Blumhouse gives it a little cachet, so yeah.
some of these series, when I hear that they're going to turn a movie into a series, I roll my eyes, and it seems like 50-50. Some of them are great, and some of them really stink. So we'll see. I like the fact that Bacon's involved in it. Anything's better with Bacon.
Except for that movie where he's a
What Kira
pedo.
Cedric says. Oh, that's a great movie. The Woodsman, right? Or The Huntsman, or something like that. The Woodcutter.
I don't know what you're talking about. So, Hunter, I know you're going to love this one. The Jurassic World sequel now has a title. It's called Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
No, I hope it's as derivative as the other one.
The other piece of news concerning Jurassic World is that Jeff Goldblum will be back for this next movie.
Really?
All right.
Like,
That could be good or bad.
Interesting. I'm liking this news.
Terrible.
so Goldblum's back, baby. I don't know. I thought Jurassic World was pretty derivative of Jurassic Park. It had its moments. It had a lot of dumb stuff. So
Yeah, I still enjoyed it. It wasn't
You know
great,
what?
but
No, but I do realize I took my daughter and my mother, and neither of them had seen Jurassic Park, and they both loved Jurassic World.
there you go.
It's introducing new and old generations if you didn't catch it the first time around. So
it
Then
seems
it's got
like
Chris
that
Pratt.
in The Force Awakens. It's like there's a whole group of people out there that are just happy to see a rehash of an old movie for a new generation to help introduce them to it. So whatever. I had a good enough time with Jurassic World. Without, I don't care enough that to go. If it's on cable, I'll watch 5 minutes of it and then keep going. I'm never going to really sit down and watch it start to finish again. Whereas Jurassic Park, I will.
right.
Isn't Jurassic Park 23 years old now or something? I mean, it's been a while.
Not
At
the-
least.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Don't forget Newman was in that.
That's right.
And the last
Newman.
piece of news, speaking of horror properties becoming TV series, Hulu is doing a Castle Rock series based on the Stephen King town. And that news has been out for a while, but the casting of Sissy Spacek and Jane Levy have been announced. So, of course, we all know Sissy Spacek was Carrie. So this is the first time in like 40 years she's working with Stephen King again. Jane Levy is the one from Don't Breathe. So she was the main girl from Don't Breathe.
Right.
Uh,
Now, does Stephen King have anything to do with the series, or are they just borrowing from his universe?
it's in his universe because in the teaser trailer, you hear all these references to Stephen King things. There's even, I believe I heard like a Salem's Lot reference even. You just hear like voiceover stuff. So I have a feeling it's going to be one of those. There's going to be a lot of winks and Easter eggs and things in it. Here's how to describe it. The new series is described as a 10-episode anthology series that weaves together the history and mythology of King's terrifying little town and characters into a brand new psychological horror story.
Okay.
What
anthology?
year.
I'm interested.
He is having some year. He's got the Mist series that our friend Steve said. Got the Gunslinger, It, and now this. Holy Jesus, what a year.
What's your impression of the trailers and stuff for the Gunslinger so far?
Crap. Oh my God, it makes me so angry.
See, those are the only books of King's that I haven't read. I've been stockpiling. I own them, but I just haven't read them. So I don't know. I'm going in total blank slate.
Even if I wasn't a huge fan of it, which I am, I've read the whole series twice, which is a huge undertaking.
Wow.
And I got to tell you, just the trailer when the guy's shooting without looking for no reason at the bad guy, that kind of shit drives me crazy. It drove me crazy in Wonder Woman. When if you're the greatest gunslinger of all time, just shoot the guy. You don't have to get style points, you know?
Right.
When he's reloading the gun by throwing the bullets in the air and catching the... Give me a fucking break. Really?
All right, so it's not like that in the book.
My spider sense is tingling on this one, so I'll check it out. But just the look of it. I've got some concern. It looks more promising.
Well, you know we have to go watch The Dark Tower for this show, so
yeah. I'm waiting for Maximum Overdrive this series.
Yes. So neither of you have seen the Mist series yet?
No.
I didn't know it had started.
Yeah, neither did I.
Catching Steve's tweet told me. Where is that? Is it FX or something?
Sci-fi? No. I don't remember.
I don't know. Gotta look it up.
I don't remember, but it's not reviewing well. I looked it up after Steve sent us that tweet, and it's not reviewing well at all. So
I'm not sorry.
That's too bad.
I'm not sorry I
thought it could
missed
work.
it.
Oh, God.
All right, Jack, let's go for a ride in the car.
All right, that's all I got for news.
I did see one thing I wanted to bring up to you guys that I'm sure is going to piss you off at first until I give you a little more information. World War Z2 is a go again after being pushed back, but it is confirmed David Fincher is directing it, and that is really interesting.
That is interesting. That'd be a totally different movie.
Yeah. So that got me pretty excited. I'm curious to see where it goes, but apparently it's an advanced development, whatever the hell that means.
You know what? I heard that news, and I actually wished that the news had been that they were going to scrap the movie and go with a HBO 10-episode miniseries of World War Z or something like that, keeping that story from the first one. This is encouraging that they could maybe salvage it, but that first one is just a piece of garbage.
Well, it's hard to make a zombie movie without a speck of blood, and then when Brad Pitt has the regenerative ability of Daffy Duck to survive anything, those are the two things that just took me right out of it.
That was my biggest issue, was that dude took a lot of... He survived a lot of stuff, but I didn't hate the movie as much as everybody else did. I actually saw the director's cut, which had more blood and showed... I believe it showed cutting the woman's hand off and stuff like that. It wasn't awful, but, you know.
Ordinarily, a movie like that, I'll see it in the theater, and then I'll watch it again when it comes out on cable or whatever. I got through like 15, 20 minutes of it, and I was like, okay. I couldn't even get through it a second time.
I like the zombie pileups and how their bodies would scale up onto the wall, which then Train to Busan used excellently.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
There was some cool ideas in it. And it was a big budget zombie movie, so I appreciated it for the most part, but I wasn't in love with it. But David Fincher, baby, I'm all aboard that.
Yeah,
me too.
So that was pretty much all I saw that you didn't. So
Again, that was the movie I took my daughter to, and she loved it. That was her first zombie movie.
Oh, yeah?
So it's a good starter zombie movie, I guess. That or Warm Bodies.
You know, that's actually a good point. If it's somebody who hasn't seen a zombie movie, they might enjoy it a lot more than us. You know, you didn't grow up with Romero. You might not hate it.
We're old and jaded.
All right, boys. Let's jump into what crap we watched this week. Jack, you want to go first or you want to go second?
I'll go first. I got some good stuff.
All right.
First of all, before I get into the movies I've watched, I went back and watched season 1 of Game of Thrones in preparation for the new season that's coming out. And I had originally binge watched the first season of that on DVD with a friend of mine in one day. Like she got the season 1 for Christmas or something. I went to her house on a Saturday. We watched 10 episodes in one day. We got pizza. We powered through. It was awesome. I've been watching Game of Thrones, you know, I think I binge watched the first 2 seasons and then I caught up and have been watching ever since, whatever. Love it. But there were times where somebody would come on screen and I'd be like, who's that guy? What? I don't understand this or whatever. I don't read the books or anything. Going back and watching the season again, I'm noticing so many things that just I wasn't paying attention. I didn't realize that was something important. I just took in too much information, and I'm so happy I watched the first season. I'm like, wow, this was the best refresher course. So I don't know if I'm going to get through the whole thing. I probably won't before the new season starts, but just getting that first season and revisiting some of the performances, like the girl who plays Arya, Macy, whatever her name is she's spectacular. So that was worthwhile. So if you're preparing for it, I highly recommend doing that.
And isn't Daenerys the most naked in that season?
She's naked and she's spectacular. Wow.
There we go.
It's a beautiful girl.
They did a good job casting her.
It also gets you more excited for Aquaman because Khal Drogo is
that's right. That's right.
He's basically that was his audition for Aquaman. Aquaman is Khal Drogo that can go underwater.
And it's funny because in Game of Thrones they're afraid of the water.
Yeah. Speaking of water, segue. I saw 47 Meters Down, the shark movie with Mandy Moore.
People have told me good things about it. So
people are wrong. That movie has no business being in the theater.
Oh my!
I thought the trailer looked awful, so I didn't bother.
It was on video on demand like a year or two ago under a different name.
Right. It's dumb. I don't even know if there was an actual fake shark used or if it was just CG sharks the whole time. Like, I have a feeling the actors were there just acting against nothing, you know, or maybe there was literally, like, the sharks are, like, in the dark underwater and they're just doing dumb things, and it's just, I know we like to say, you know, should you see this in the theater? Should you rent it or whatever? Wait for Netflix on this one, folks, because you don't want to pay to see this in the theater. It is not the best shark movie since Jaws. And another movie that doesn't hold up well is the one with Blake Lively. The
Shallows.
The Shallows. The Shallows is Citizen Kane compared to this.
Oh, wow.
So this isn't going to be the crown jewel of my Mandy Moore video collection.
If you want to see Mandy Moore in a bathing suit for extended period of time, you get that. But I just go to The Shallows instead.
I love The Shallows. I think I've seen that literally 10 times.
I like that movie, except for the end.
Then an even worse movie that I saw, which I talked to you guys about on Twitter. A friend of mine had suggested this movie to me. It's free on Amazon Prime. Bigfoot versus Zombies.
Oh my God! I could have warned you.
This movie was made in iMovie. I can tell by when they put like the credits up. I'm like, oh, that's totally an iMovie effect. I use that in Monster Man all the time. Like and the guy in Bigfoot costume is basically a gorilla suit with like a meaner mask, and the zombies are like Halloween masks or just like a little gray makeup, and it's like, you know, like a bunch of college kids made a a film, except there's really not as much of a sense of humor behind it as there ought to be. So while you're like going, oh, well, I'll watch this, it's so bad it's good kind of way, it never even delivers sort of on that level.
No.
Really?
Didn't you think that they went to like some like closeout sale at a Party City, got some cheap ass costumes, and said we should just make a movie?
Yeah, there's times where like the zombies are supposed to be tearing into somebody.
Ghost! There's a ghost behind you.
Well, my fan just fell, and now I'm going to get really hot in here.
That was crazy.
That was paranormal.
It's still running.
Yep, cold feet.
They're tearing up a body, and the innards of the body are just like red, like paint-soaked rags, and they're just like, it's hilarious. So,
Yeah,
I'm not recommending Bigfoot versus zombies. However, the last thing I saw just came to Netflix. It's something I've been eyeing on pay-per-view, but it just came to Netflix. It's called XX, and it's an anthology.
I saw that.
You saw that? It's okay. It's 4 short films. You got to put on your I'm watching short films hat and
Right.
get into that mentality. So it's almost like if they made a Tales from the Dark Side reboot, you get a short horror story.
They're all female directors.
They're all female directors. Two of them are pretty good. Third one is and one of them's really dumb. So for it's a good Netflix watch. You know, better than like your standard. Those anthology ones, they're really hit or miss. This one's okay. Some really cool visuals, some interesting stuff. It's not great. I'm never really going to watch it again, but for something that's on Netflix, I would suggest. Jason, what do you think of it?
Oh, I mean, I just saw it pop up for me. I didn't watch it yet.
Yeah, it's where pop it on one night when you don't feel like paying for a movie and you've got it there. You know, but don't like rush to watch it after we finish.
I'm a fan of anthologies. I like watching them, even though, when you watch one, you have to assume 75% of them are going to be complete shit.
Right.
Sometimes there's some cool stories in there.
There's one that takes place at a birthday party that's well done, and visually it's shot. The way they shoot it's beautiful. Like it's got aspect ratio. It's incredible. I love it, Jason.
Nice and tight, huh?
White like a tiger. So that's everything I watched, and I actually have a book this week.
No way.
It's a vampire book called Live Girls.
Oh, Ray Garton. That's a great book.
Yeah, so this book was written in the 80s, and it takes place in the 80s in a strip club in Times Square, back when Times Square was seedy and full of strip joints and stuff. And Hunter and I actually were kids when this was going on. My friends actually would go to wrestling matches at Madison Square Garden and go to peep shows on the way back, and they'd come back. I never went with them, but they would come back with all these stories and stuff, and all I was thinking about when I was reading this was like, oh, my God.
Yeah, I felt my first tit there. Because there were peep shows where for an extra like coin, the window would open up and you could put your hand in and feel whatever part you wanted.
And that's what's going on in this book. So there's vampires in the strip club, and it's a good book. The ending's a little bit wonky, but it's for a vampire book. It's refreshing because the vampires are kind of vicious, and they don't candy coat the sex and the sexual aspect to it, and they're not like romantic. They're predators, and there's kind of a creative way in which these guys are trying to fight it. It starts cooking in the second half, and like there came a point where like I got to I want to get back and to read that. Like it hooked me after a while. Like I said, the ending wasn't the best, but it was pretty good. So overall, thumbs up. So I suggest reading Live Girls.
Yeah, you'll find that in a lot of people's top 50, top 100 horror books of all time lists. I always see that on the list.
Yeah, definitely worth a read, especially if you in the wake of Twilight and other of these toned down vampire crap. This was fun to finally find a good read.
I've never even heard of it. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Oh yeah, Ray Garton's he's a hysterical guy too. Follow him on Facebook.
I guess there's a sequel to it that I got to track down next.
All right. Well, Hunter, now that we know where you felt your first titty, why don't you tell us if you caught any on TV this week.
I have caught some incidental tit. I actually only watched one horror movie. I have Shudder now, so I'm going to make sure I watch at least one on Shudder so I can get my money's worth each month. But Orange is the New Black, the new season came out, I don't know, a week and a half ago or something. So my wife and I have been binge watching season 5, which that's kind of horror because it's been horrible.
That's what I heard.
It's really uneven. The whole season is about a prison revolt, and only this show can make a prison revolt boring as sin. However, there is one episode, I've got to say maybe episode 9, which is shot just like a horror movie. So there's a guard who's in there and he's trying to track everybody down one by one, and it's the horror movie music, it's the creepy angles, it's shadows and stuff. So that was kind of cool. But the movie I did watch is Demons, which is a Italian horror kind of action movie from 1986. I will tell you, I am not a big Italian horror. I'm not a Giallo fan whatsoever. I know people love Suspiria and a lot of Dario Argento. I think Italian movies, especially the 70s and 80s, they have a distinct look. They play a lot with the color palette. You can make fun of me for that one.
And they make no goddamn sense.
They make zero sense. It's all style, no substance. And I think that's what drives me crazy. Demons, however, is a very straightforward flick. It's co-written and produced by Dario Argento. It's directed by Lamberto Bava, who was Mario Bava's son. And it takes place in Berlin. Most people speak English. It's all dubbed. And some people obviously speak Italian. These two girls are in a subway. They meet up with this dude who's got like half a Terminator face. And he gives them an invitation to go to this movie premiere at this weird theater. They go because they have nothing else to do. And there's a weird collection. There's like a dude who's kind of like a pimp with his two girls. They're going to the movies. There's a blind guy going to the movies with his daughter. He's kind of a dick. There's an older couple, and this is their anniversary. And his big present is to give her a free movie. And when they sit down to watch the movie is about teens or maybe early 20s digging up, looks like a Templar grave, and they pull out this skull, and the skull turns them into demons. Well, in the movie theater, there is a prop of a motorcycle and this gleaming silver demon kind of face that one of the pimp's hoes puts on her face, and she gets nicked. And once she does, the demon blood is in her. Literally, the movie takes place in the theater. They're trapped in the theater, and people start turning into demons. And it's them trying to find ways to get out, barricade themselves in, and every time a demon catches somebody, they turn into a demon. Cool visuals, insane plot. There is booby. There's like some drugged out crack whore who shows her boobs a couple of times. If you're into that, you can watch a guy do coke off her boob. But for just fun, absurdist horror, it's my favorite Italian horror movie. And there is a Demons 2. In fact, I heard there's 7 sequels. I just really know of Demons and Demons 2. So I'm going to watch Demons 2 this week, and I'll talk about it next week. But if you're going to dip your toe in the water, it's a pretty solid story. It's just people in the theater turning into demons, trying to survive.
I only vaguely remember that movie. I watched it so long ago, but I do vividly remember an eye gouging scene.
There's great gore in this movie, and there is a horrible squeam. I don't like eye stuff, and Italian movies love doing stuff with eyes. Also, if you love the 80s,
that's why they're Italians.
Yay! There's great music by Motley Crue, except Billy Idol, Go West, Saxon. So if you're into like 80s rock, except Balls to the Wall, baby. Although the movie they do in this is Fast as a Shark, but it's a great flick.
All right.
You know, it's funny. Yeah, Italian horror movies are so tough to get through. Suspiria is one of those ones I keep meaning to go back to and see if I can get through it. Because when I saw that in high school or whatever, I was like,
I've watched it 4 times and I never liked it. And there's a remake coming out later this year.
That's why I want to catch it before the remake happens.
And I did read one book, Cavern of the Damned by Russell James. Jack, you know Russell. We've had him on Monster Man.
Russell's the man.
This is published by Severed Press, and Severed Press, as I know, does really great monster books. And this is a cast of characters getting into a cave or a cavern that is loaded with giant scorpions and giant bats and all kinds of stuff. It is a blast from start to finish. He has a great, perfect cast of characters, just enough where you get to kind of know each of them. It's fun to watch them die. It is really, if you're going to go for like a good summer monster read, Cavern of the Damned is it. So good job, Russell.
Oh, did you get that on Amazon?
Well, he gave it to me, but you can get it on Amazon.
Okay, just want to make sure. I think I've got one of his already. Q Island.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Q Island, I got that over there.
What was that, Jack?
I said I have Q Island over there.
Huh. Yeah, I just have to read it. All right, is that it?
That is it for me.
All right. I tried watching a couple things this week that I stopped because you get into that rabbit hole on Amazon Prime and wow.
Yep.
Or you watch Zombies versus Bigfoot and you go, okay, enough is enough.
Right.
Yeah. Cold turkey.
And you drink yourself stupid for 2 days. So I found one movie called Black Mountainside, also on Amazon Prime. It is very much The Thing. So it takes place in northern Canada, way up in the middle of nowhere. There's a team of scientists up there, and they find something in the ice. And it's an old, ancient structure. And once they start digging it up a little bit, things begin to go crazy. People start acting bizarrely, and one of them gets something in his skin, and it starts crawling under. And for the first half hour or so, 45 minutes, I'm really into this. I'm like, this is, it's The Thing, but it's decently made little movie. And then the characters start behaving really stupidly, I guess.
Dumber.
So they see this guy, and he's got something crawling under his skin, and instead of, say, cutting a slit in his skin and trying to pull out whatever it is, they just chop his arm off. What?
Which is so easy to do.
Like, what? Whoa! There were some decent gore effects in it. It had some pretty cool ideas. There was a really interesting visual when you kind of start figuring out what's happening towards the end, at least as much as you find out. They did some cool stuff like that. It's probably worth a watch if you're guys like us. Is it the best thing? No, but you could tell it was a micro-budgeted movie too. So they did some interesting things in it.
Is it new or?
It said it came out in 2014. That's what it says on IMDb, but then it has a release date in the U.S. of 2016, so new-ish.
I've seen it somewhere because there's a Led Zeppelin song with that name, so that made me go, oh, I'm curious about that. So I've seen the link at least somewhere for it.
Okay. I also watched Kong Skull Island this week and really dug it. Yeah, I really liked it. It was crazy. I was surprised at how violent it was. People get messed up in this movie bad.
The helicopter scene, you could have ended the movie right there, and I would have been fine. That's $15 well spent.
Yeah, it was really well done. I don't know who directed this, but they did a great job. Some of the visuals with Kong standing in front of the setting sun and the helicopters flying up, really beautifully shot movie. I really enjoyed it. Kong in this is gigantic.
He has to be to fight Godzilla later.
Yeah, I'm sure that's why they did it. So I thought it was really interesting. And it's one of those movies where no one is safe. So normally in a movie like this, you see the big actors, you think, okay, well, they're going to make it to the end. Or not in this movie. Anyone can go at any time. So I really appreciated that. And I thought it was good. I really liked it. I wish I'd seen it in the theater, actually.
Well, how did you describe Brie Larson in this movie?
She's boobed up pretty good. I don't know if they padded the hell out of her or what, but there were a couple shots that were just distracting. Like,
yeah.
Jesus.
I did say earlier, I said that John C. Reilly, to me, was the only human that was really worth watching, because he's the only one that had some real meat to his character. The others
Everyone
were just...
else was ape fodder.
They kind
They
of
were
wasted
color-
Tom Hiddleston in that movie. He could
Yeah.
have done a lot more.
You could have put color forms in there and just... it wouldn't have made a difference. Just show me Kong.
I think that movie went on a little too long. It's good. I liked it overall, but felt like they could edit it a little bit. But compared to like the Peter Jackson King Kong, it's perfect.
It's like a third of the length of that movie.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. One thing I got a kick out of was whoever the director is of this movie went to the I've seen every Vietnam movie ever, and I'm going to do the 60s music, Creedence, whatever, with helicopters.
Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, it was like every montage. Whenever they went somewhere, it was okay. Let's do like the slow motion helicopters going over trees, playing, the Doors or whatever.
Yeah, no, that was cool.
That's completely what made the Kong attack work, though, is because it's just the cinematic looking. Let's listen to Creedence, and then they just get smashed. So,
in a horrible way.
I thought that was a really fun movie. I'm looking forward to Kong vs. Godzilla or whatever.
Did you sit through the credits?
Yes. Yes, I did. Yeah. So I think everybody should check that one out.
I liked it better than the Godzilla movie.
I did too. Yeah.
Oh, me 3. I didn't like the Godzilla movie, so there you go.
And on Netflix, I finally watched a movie that's been in my queue forever called Tales of Halloween.
Oh.
You've seen it?
Yep.
Anthology
it's been
movie?
sitting in my queue. Should I watch it?
Yes, because you're a final guy and a monster man. I mean, honestly, there's a couple segments in this that are really good. There's a couple that are and then there's several that are really bad. But the ones that are good are definitely worth watching. There's some interesting directors in it. Neil Marshall did one. Lucky McKee did one. Mike Mendez did one.
Oh.
And this could have been called Cameo the Film because everyone is in it. I saw Adrienne Barbeau is in the wraparound. I'm trying to see who else is in here.
Sweet.
Barbara Crampton. Let me see.
I think she's in everything now. I think that's a law.
Yeah. Lynn Shay, Lisa Marie, Mick Garris, Stuart Gordon, John Landis. I mean, it was crazy.
Holy cow.
They had everyone. So there were some cool segments. The biggest thing I didn't like about it is that tonally it was all over the place, which, in an anthology can happen, but even in the same segment, it will go from being a horror movie. There's like some Western music at the beginning, and it's kind of cheeky and goofy, and then it turns into this bizarre parkour chase scene with death metal playing, and then all on the same thing. It was just, there's some weird stuff going on that I didn't really get or understand or like. Take your pick. But some of the stuff that worked well. I would have liked to have seen a little more tie-in maybe between them, because some of them, there was some knitting I saw, and in the final segment, there was an interesting little rap going on there, but I think a little more of that would have been better. But it was a fun enough movie. I'd check it out. I mean, it's on Netflix, so.
All right. Yeah. I'll do it. I'm in.
I am still reading Dr. Sleep because it's a Stephen King book, and it'll take me 18 years to finish, but I'm liking that so far, so I don't have a review for that yet. But I have been playing a game that I played before called Firewatch, which I don't know if it's on PlayStation or anything, but I'm playing it on my computer for the second time. This is such a cool game. It has some horror mystery elements in it. That's why I'm mentioning it. But it's actually a really simple game to play. You're just playing this character who's up in the mountains. His wife, I think she gets dementia, early onset dementia, and he just has to get away. So he takes a job out in, oh man, I don't know, is it Wyoming or something like that? I can't remember. Just doing Firewatch up on the mountains by himself. So he just has a walkie-talkie, and he's communicating with this woman who's in another tower. And you actually pick your responses to her as you're talking and the things you want to do. And as you do that, the story and your relationship with her changes as it goes on. So you can play it differently. And it makes it really interesting. And there's some pretty scary stuff when you're up there. There's a guy following you around. You go back and your cabin is ransacked, things like that. So it's really neat, and it's a super cheap game made for almost nothing, but it's really fun, and there's some super creepy moments. So if anybody gets a chance, I actually think it's on sale right now on Steam for just a couple bucks. It's Definitely worth it. Firewatch.
So that's Firewatch.
Firewatch, yeah, one word.
If y'all want to play a game called Fire Crotch, I'm going to tell you how you play it. You get yourself a real bona fide breadhead. You pour a little Tabasco sauce on your nethers, and then you just kind of mush your parts together.
I just assumed you got it when you reached through the peep show window and grabbed God knows what.
You know what's funny? I thought that all titties felt like rocks because they were fake ones. So the first time I ever saw the 40-year-old virgin, and he was at the card game, and they asked him how that girl's boobs felt, he goes, they felt heavy like sand. I was thinking that was like me at like 12. What did that boobie feel like? It felt like cement.
Oh, for the love of God.
And yes, I said 12.
Yes, you did.
Alrighty then.
All right, let's jump into the main feature here before we fall too far down this rabbit hole. This week, we watched a little movie called Prevenge, which is a British black comedy horror film written, directed, and starring Alice Lowe, who some of you might know from, was that Sightseers?
Sightseers. I love that movie.
Another interesting British film. And essentially, this is a movie, I'll sum it up here real quick. A pregnant woman who has lost her goddamn mind murders the hell out of people, is the basic gist of this movie.
Bazinga.
Well, she thinks that she may or may not be hearing messages from her unborn child telling her to kill people.
I was going to say, Jack, what did you think? And anything you'd like to toss in there about the story? It's pretty basic, but I mean, I guess she has a little motivation beyond being crazy.
Yes. This is interesting because you guys ask me what I think, and then you just attack me. So,
well, don't say guys. I didn't say a damn thing.
I like this movie.
Oh!
I really like Sightseers, and this wasn't as good as Sightseers, but overall, I was entertained. The black comedy, it's vicious when it's a horror movie, and it's just quirky as hell. So overall, enjoyed it. Great performances. Maybe paced a little bit. There are a few spots where it kind of dragged a little bit, but overall, like I'll remember this film, and I enjoyed it. One of the better films of the year so far.
Wow! All right, I'm shocked.
Right.
You know,
Hunter,
I watched it on Father's Day with my wife, and in the afternoon, and I thought it was lovely. I liked the performances were really solid. This was, what's her name again? Alice Lowe?
Alice Lowe. This
was her directorial debut. I think she did a short before this, but this was her feature film debut. As soon as I saw her, I'm going, where is she from? And I IMDb, and I'm like, oh, Sightseers, that's right. And the guy who was in Sightseers, Steve Oram, he was just in A Dark Song this year. That's one of my favorite movies of the year. So I thought, I like the idea of this kind of quiet killing spree. I think if you put this movie in an American's hands, it becomes a completely different movie. So I kind of like this kind of wry wit and this dry English sensibility about it all. The woman who played her gynecologist, I thought, was a scream. Even I don't think when she was not intending to be funny. But I thought it was very good. Look, to me, it's not the best movie of the year. It's not this bombastic film. It's not particularly gory, but I thought it was cute. It's a cute kind of horror film.
You know, I agree with both of you. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was really well done. It's very black comedy in a very British sense. So if you don't like British films, I'm not sure that you're really going to appreciate this. If you don't like British comedy, I mean, this is really dark. But I liked it. I thought she did a really good job with directing it. I agree with you, Jack. I thought the pacing at times, particularly when she's hearing the kid's voice, there are a couple times when I was really resisting the urge to check Twitter or Facebook or something. But overall, I thought it was really good. It wasn't overly long, so it's not like there were huge sections where I was bored out of my mind. Just a couple times when I was thinking, this could maybe be sped up a little bit. But it had a great soundtrack. Great retro soundtrack. Loved that. Alice Rowe's outstanding in this, and she is not afraid of obviously of being pregnant on film. She doesn't shy away from it to the point where she's naked in a tub and she's not hiding. So
No.
big props to her. She just went for it. She did a great job. I thought all the acting in it was good. There wasn't anyone. Typically, when you see a movie this low budget, there's at least one actor who really stands out as kind of cringeworthy. I don't remember seeing one in this.
The actors in this were interesting because they didn't come off like they were trying to be funny, but they were quirky. So you had the guy in the pet store. You had when she goes to the apartment, she's having these conversations with people, and then there's like a comedy in the conversation, and then something bad happens. But it wasn't like Hunter. You're right. If this was an American movie, they would have set it up too much. There would have been too much. They would have been trying too hard with dialogue. This was they just pulled it off with quirky characters and reactions and quick banter, and then kind of turning on a dime and getting brutal.
It was funny when she was at the bar and that awful 80s party that guy, the DJ was throwing, that was so embarrassing.
That guy was awesome.
Oh my God. I had such a chill. When I saw that, it took me back to, I was in a band, and the last gig we ever did for good reason was at a bar like that. And there were 5 of us in the band, and there were 3 people in the bar. And as we start to play, someone at the bar turns to us and just goes, "Will you shut the fuck up?" And it so reminded me of that night. But when she starts hitting on him, and he's going for it, and he takes her home. My wife turns to me, she goes, "Does he not realize she's pregnant?" I'm like, "Guys don't care. If you're offering it, we're taking it."
He had one line in that when he said, "I really like fat birds." I'm like,
Yeah.
Oh my God. This guy's such a tool. When they're in the car going home and he pukes into his hat and then just starts making out with her, doesn't even wipe his face off. Oh.
And there's a little bit glistening on her lip when he's done. I was just ready to blow my own chunks.
Oh, yeah, that was good stuff. There's some pretty good gore in this, I thought, at times. Not anything completely over the top, but there was a ball slicing scene, some neck slicing.
Yeah, she liked to slice necks.
Some good horror stuff in there. I appreciated it.
There was also kind of the situation where if you kill somebody, then afterwards, like, you have to deal with cleaning up or dealing with people around you or getting away, and all that, like, kind of real life, like, that, like, if you're getting, it happens in real life just when you're trying to do things. You trip over things, or somebody rings the doorbell or whatever, and you got to deal with that. They dealt with that kind of, like, everyday life reality in an incredible circumstance really well. So whether it was when, like I said, somebody like knocks on the door, or she's got to deal with somebody walking in on her, there was comedy and a line of truth in it.
Did you guys see the Game of Thrones actor thrown in there?
Yeah, good old Yara Greyjoy shows up.
Not a lesbian. And looks really small when she's not in all that gear.
She's the mother and the witch, isn't she?
I don't remember.
No, that's the mother and the witch is the woman who was thrown down that hole, who was breastfeeding her, like, 12-year-old son.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Wasn't she
This
the one
girl, and this is
HR?
the sister. This is the lesbian sister to the guy who had his dick cut off. I can't remember their names.
Greyjoy, Theon Greyjoy, and Yara Greyjoy.
Yeah.
I think there's 2 Game of Thrones people, because isn't that the one that gets thrown out the moon door? Isn't she the one at the HR when she's doing the interview?
Oh,
Is that her?
You might be right.
I think it is.
You know what? I think we hit on why the acting was good, and this is also a difference between England and America. If you pull up the IMDb page for any British actor, actress, it goes on forever. And it also doesn't list their theater work. I think that British actors just get more work.
So wait, Greyjoy girl, which one was she?
The one who put on the boxing gloves?
Yeah.
Oh.
And punched her in the stomach.
Man, I didn't even recognize her. So if I'm right, there was 2 Game of Thrones people.
I know
I recognize.
See? And I think that's why we think the acting was so solid.
I did want to say, part of that, since we were talking about Greyjoy, there was a scene in there that I thought they did a good job with most of it. Is even when this woman is attacking these people and trying to kill them with knives or whatever, because she's pregnant, most people do not know how to handle the situation. So even Yara Greyjoy puts on boxing gloves, which is really funny, but she punches her in the stomach and then is instantly regretful and upset. And, you know, that's not what you want to do when a psycho's trying to kill you.
Right.
And even another guy, we'll talk about in the spoiler section, but his life is on the balance and he just sits down. He doesn't try to run or fight or put distance between them. So I thought that was really interesting. The only one who really didn't seem to know and or care was Puke Boy at the beginning, who thought he was a playboy.
I thought also that scene with the interview, well, that was a piece of real brilliant writing. I think their interplay and the way she turned the tables on that woman was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Well, anything else before we jump into the spoiler section, which will be short? There's not a whole lot in this.
Yeah. This episode might be longer than the movie.
Yeah, it could be. Anything else you guys want to add?
Nah,
I've got nothing.
Spoilers.
We all liked it, so holy gee. Who can believe
I know. Well, for you, those of you bowing out now, since you haven't seen it yet, check us out, finalguys.com. You'll find all our Twitter handles, everything else there. And, do you want to go over the winner of the book from last week, Hunter?
Yes, we have a winner. This guy right now is currently watching us live.
Because
he's number
awesome.
one fan. Exactly. Spencer Dunnings is winning a free copy of my latest Just Add Water. So congratulations, Spence, and thanks for playing along, as always.
Happy belated birthday.
Exactly. Glad to see you're sober.
I'm sure we'll be doing more giveaways in time here. So if you want to email us about anything like that or any questions you have, any comments on the show, that is finalguyspodcast@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you. Maybe we'll mention it on the next episode. And before we also bow out, just to let everyone know, next week we are doing... What the hell movie are we doing again?
Belko Experiment.
Belko Experiment. That's right.
Belko.
Which I'm actually looking forward to. You couldn't be able to tell by my memory, but... So, all right.
It's a bad name.
It's interesting, yeah. All right. So for anyone hanging in there, here come a couple spoilers. I'll just jump into it first. What I was saying about the guy who didn't know how to handle her being pregnant. It was the one at the end when she has the pretty cool makeup on for Halloween. I really liked that. It looked interesting.
That was an awesome job.
Yeah, she's in the room with him with a knife, and it just continued that trend of decent people not knowing how to handle her. He just sits down when she's coming forward to kill him because he feels bad and he doesn't want to fight a pregnant woman. And I just thought that was interesting, the way she chose to do that with a couple characters.
No, I thought that was... It showed their vulnerability, her vulnerability. And I also like the idea of when she had the baby, because the whole time the baby's talking to her in this eerie whisper, go kill them kind of thing. When she has the baby and realizes that it's not talking to her and there's this complete disconnect and she just kind of leaves it in the hospital, I thought it's kind of gut-wrenching. And I wonder how many people that actually happens to. You know, it's hormones and, you know, you've got this attachment and now the baby's out of you and you feel like, oh,
yeah, they're definitely
we're not one anymore.
With some things like that. They didn't really get into postpartum, but yeah, they got into some interesting things like that. Although I did like at the very end when she's at the cliffside and she sees that guy again, because you're thinking she's not crazy anymore because she had the kid. No, she's still a psycho.
Well, the catalyst for her going nuts is that her husband was killed in a climbing accident. And it's a little unclear as to what happened. Did somebody cut the rope, or she sort of thinks so, at least. And so she's going after people involved with the climbing accident.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand all of that because she was having flashbacks of the rope being cut and of him falling on the rocks. But was she not there? I didn't understand.
I don't think she was there. I think the whole thing was she was imagining what had happened.
Okay.
And I think the baby, quote unquote, was in control and kind of feeding her these images and her marching orders of what to do.
See, I thought that's what they were trying to say, but I just assumed she was absolutely batshit crazy.
Yeah, I took it that she was batshit crazy too.
Yeah, I don't think the baby was some evil force. I think she was just nuts because her husband was apparently going to leave her, and she was pregnant, and then he died, and I think she just snapped mentally. That's the way I took it anyway.
I lived with a pregnant woman for 2 babies, and I know how it can be. And that's without leaving her and dying. So it's all believable.
You know what really set the tone great in this movie was the murder in the pet shop.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning,
Yeah.
you've got all these creepy things in the spiders and snakes and everything, and then she just cuts that guy's throat, and it was pretty brutal. And he's like gurgling and things like that. Talk about like a convincing, like that was that was a pretty awesome kill.
Yeah, I love that because the whole time he's showing her all these disgusting creatures, and he's just trying to bang her the whole time.
I know, another guy.
So that was really funny, and the setup made me think she was just a psycho killer because they didn't really go into why she was doing it for a while, and I thought maybe she was just going around and any guy who was being sleazy or gross, that's what she was doing, but she was actually going after specific people. But,
No,
yeah.
I thought that was that was another guy right off the bat hitting on her. My wife was like going, but she's pregnant. I'm like, we don't care. And if he gets her into bed, he can't get her pregnant. So it's all good.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of guys wouldn't care about someone being pregnant if they're willing to just reach through a screen and grab some boob. I mean, they're willing to do anything. They'll
Don't
stick their
knock 'em,
penis
baby.
into anything.
And
My penis will go where it wants to go.
the woman who played her doctor actually does a really good job because she's trying to be this medical professional and personable with her and stuff. And then there's just times where she's dealing with this nut job. And I thought she did sort of a cool layered performance and was kind of convincing as a medical professional.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, because she was threatening to report her to like their version of social services. But I didn't get what for. And she was holding back not doing them. Like, but what behavior has she exhibited that makes you think that she should be reported? Is it because she didn't have a husband?
I thought it was because she wasn't getting the test done she needed to do. She kept trying to get her to go get some kind of scan or something else, and she kept pushing it off. And I thought that was why.
It was something like
Yeah.
she was telling her to do something, and she wasn't taking her advice. She's like, "You better do this, or you're gonna
Right.
lose your kid."
Right.
Turns out she should have turned her in. It would have saved a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. She, I like, the doctor first seemed really ditzy, and I was like, oh, what is this? She looks a little too old for this to be her first day on the job. But her character kind of grew with each subsequent visit, and there was, like I said, there was meat on the bones of every character in here, and doing it in this very short amount of time. And that's because of crisp writing and really solid performances. And you don't see many movies. In fact, I was worried. I heard so much about it, and I'm like, oh, it's a Shudder exclusive, so that means it's not good enough for anyone else. So I was expecting the worst, and I was pleasantly surprised.
It was a very simple movie, which could have worked against it with somebody a little less maybe talented running it. I mean, there really wasn't a lot to it. She's just going around killing people by hearing a voice in her head. I mean, that's the movie. But it was well done and interesting. I liked it.
You know what though? The layering came into the, like you were saying, people don't know how to deal with her because she's pregnant. So you're like, get away from me. Oh my God, are you okay? So that was interesting. And just the way she would go from being so matter of fact and her bizarre behavior to, she's on a date with Disco Stu, who's puking in her mouth. And then, all of a sudden she just out of nowhere cuts his nuts off, and you're like, what the? And then she puts his mother to bed and leaves.
And does the laundry.
Yes. And does the laundry, yeah. She cleans the laundry because the woman was coming out to do the laundry, and she did it for her.
Yep.
So it was a real, just enjoying the character performance. And again, it was just like this bizarre character going through mood swings and just like different set pieces. And you're just sort of there. A few, we agree, there's a couple of parts like, they could speed it up a little bit here or there, but it was never too long before they got to something else. You're like, oh, this part's awesome. Like the boxing glove scene.
Right. Yeah. See, I think if you could do like a thing, say Brits do it better, and then you do that whole Disco Stew from the bar to putting mom to bed. That encapsulates why the Brits a lot of times will do horror better than we do here in America.
That was so weird. When she threw that shot over her shoulder right on that guy's face. That was great.
And just like a casual look, and then we moved on.
Right. All right. Jack, on our sliding scale, where would you put this film?
Well, I would. It's not in the theaters, so I would actually suggest getting Shudder in order to watch this, or tracking down a copy. As far as, especially for 2017 horror movies, this is definitely in the top echelon of them. So I think it's a memorable movie. It's got I think it's going to have staying power. I think it'll be one of kind of like Sightseers. It's whenever you mention it, it's like, oh, I saw that. That's a good one. I think I highly recommend it. I'd say pay to watch it.
All right, Hunter.
I did get Shudder just to watch this, and I was not disappointed. And now I'm very happy with Shudder. So yes, by all means, get Shudder, and realize maybe you'll be like me, where you'll watch it and you kind of like it, and the more you think about it, the more you like it.
I 100% agree. I got Shudder just to watch this, and man, their selection's awesome. I'm going to be digging through that here soon. They've got some good stuff. It's $5 a month, so this movie's definitely worth paying for. So I would definitely spend $5 and just check it out. And they got all kinds of stuff. I have a feeling we're going to be doing a lot of movies from Shudder here in the future.
Yeah. Oh my God. I literally, I've added 85 movies now to my queue on Shudder.
Jesus, that's honestly, before signing up, I didn't know they had 85 movies.
Yeah, they
got a lot.
They do.
So. All right, well, it's pretty much universal. We all dug it, and since we had a couple complicated movies that were too much for Jack, we got a little simpler this week, and he's happy.
You know what? I honestly didn't think Jack would like it at all.
Really? I thought we'd all like it. I just had a feeling. It feels so retro in a way.
I was surprised you guys liked it because it's entertaining, and you guys are a little highbrow and your crap doesn't stink.
Yeah, well, there weren't any boobs in it, so I'm surprised I liked it too.
I'm actually surprised I liked it because of that.
I had my hand in a hole touching a boob the whole time I watched it. It was awesome.
And your other hand in there, hole in your pants.
I was fire crotching it.
Jesus Christ. All right. Before Hunter pulls his pinus out, Jack, anything you want to share before we hit the road? Oh, God. I gotta
think
shut this.
he's sharing enough for all of us.
I have nothing to share except thank you for coming.
All right. As we mentioned last week, every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, we record the podcast live on YouTube, so if you go there, you can watch it during this. You can interact with us. If you leave comments, maybe we'll talk about it as we're going. Otherwise, we will see you guys next week for the Belko experiment. And check out finalguys.com and Twitter and get a hold of us, and we'll see you next time.
Good night.
Have fun storming the castle.
Pinus.